Greetings from the Academy for Private Practice. I'm Joe Patrice.
Ben.
Nate.
And we're on the road with the Legal Talk Network. Hey, welcome back. We're in lovely Philadelphia at Above the Law's Academy for Private Practice. Today, I have Ben and Nate Whetsell. They're, that's how I pronounce it, right?
Rhymes with pretzel.
Rhymes with pretzel. That's good. That was my guess as to how to say it, but then I paused and was like, that's the thing. When you only said your first names in that little cold intro, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I guess I don't know for sure. Anyway, yes, Ben and Nate Whetsell, and we're here, in addition to talking about pretzels, we're here talking about a panel that they just did where they were up on the main stage in the other room talking about how to get contracts right even if you don't have an army of junior associates, which kind of goes with the whole theme of this event, which is dealing with smalls and solos and how to kind of bridge that gap with big law. So, hey guys, how'd it go?
I thought it went very well.
Yeah.
It went very well. I mean, it was a panel, but it was really a product demo.
Mm-hmm.
So, live product demo, we're really using it up there. Anything can happen, and it went very well.
Good. Well, you have two products, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so tell us about, let's take them in turn. So the first one, which I think is PC-based.
We have a Word add-in for Windows PCs called Contract Tools, and we have a companion application for the Mac called Turner. Both of these are for drafting and analyzing contracts.
And they both do basically the same thing, or?
Contract Tools is an add-in to Word,
right.
And so when you're part of working with contracts is making changes. Mm-hmm. So when you're using Contract Tools on Word, you're making changes through Word. Turner is a standalone document editor on Mac. So we leverage everything about Mac's performance, and as a standalone application and a full-featured editor, there's a lot more you can do in terms of tailored controls for working with the information that you typically find in contracts.
Wow. So that's interesting because I feel as though, and maybe this is a sign of me not knowing enough about the small law practice, having been in big law for so long, but it would seem to me as though Macs were kind of the minority of the
they certainly
business
are.
world. Okay.
They certainly are.
So it's kind of a forgotten, I think a lot of folks kind of overlook how they can be utilized in this.
For our own experience, mm-hmm. Our users tend to be half and half.
Really?
Yeah, half on PC and half on Turner.
So that's interesting. It seems as though, while the big players are all trying to get their PCs,
It's interesting when, we've exhibited at Legal Tech in New York, mm-hmm. and there everyone is carrying around a PC, and then we also did Legal Tech out in California, and then you see lots more Macs. So there's variation not only in big law and then down to smaller practices, but also geographically. In our own experience, our users tend to be half and half.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, it seems like a great market. So now, what brought you to the idea of coming up with tools to help people handle contracts? I mean, you have some experience with contracts there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm an attorney. I worked at Fried Frank from 2007 to 2010 in their corporate practice, working with contracts basically day in and day out. And basically just imagined a tool like this would be useful.
I came here quite tangentially. I was doing scientific computing and acoustics, and then wanted to develop applications. And this seemed like a pretty good idea, and I wasn't doing application development at the time. And so, why not give this a shot?
Well, it seems like you kind of are, you said half and half about the computers. You kind of are half and half of the product here.
Yes.
So,
it helps.
Yeah. And what a coincidence, you both have the same last name, too. So
exactly.
Who knew? So what other things do these tools bring to the market that other tools that might be out there don't? Like, what's the unique edge that you're able to bring?
There are a number of things that are exclusive to... first of all, when we're talking about Turner, we're not talking about... Turner's the only standalone contract drafting app,
right?
Certainly that I know of. When we're talking about add-ins for Microsoft Word, a few of them are, and this is a very common feature. You use it every day. You may not think about it, but auto-completion. Mm-hmm. You're Googling something and you see some suggestions.
You see it as a developer. I use autocomplete in Xcode and Atom and whatever I'm working in, and I wouldn't be able to live without it. I wouldn't be as productive, and there's a lot of stuff to remember.
So the auto-completion menu in Contract Tools, we're like 90% certain is the only auto-completion menu in any Word add-in. Not just any Word add-in in law, but any Word add-in, period. Some of the other things that are exclusive, that's one of the big ones. Kind of the unifying piece of technology behind both applications is something that we internally call the arranger, which is why in part of the demo, we copied and pasted from Edgar and ran the analysis and contract tools, and whoosh, you have all the defined terms and all the provisions and everything listed, even though this is not a typical Word document. You're literally copying and pasting from the Edgar website.
Okay.
So the underlying technology that makes that possible is certainly our crown jewel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it populates this autocorrect feature with terms from
auto-completion is for when you're making changes. As you're typing, you make changes, and then the autocomplete window appears, and you can jog your memory and use the thing that you actually mean, and you just have an easier time at life when you're working with contracts.
Right.
All of this, the autocomplete menu and every other tool and the provisions outline, the list of defined terms, everything else is driven by the arranger, which is very much under the hood. The only sense you ever give the arranger is the little green meter that goes up over about a second.
But when you're trying to, if you have a cross-reference like 3.1D, the D thing and the 1 thing and the 3 thing, that has a meaning, and you need to have some notion of the hierarchy of the document in order to link that up so you can actually check it and navigate to it and then go back. And if you don't know what that hierarchy is and you haven't arranged it with, the arranger, then you don't know it.
Yeah.
Both of the tools are really driven by the arranger. So in terms of what we have that the other guys don't have, that's it.
Interesting.
That's the big one.
And then this, I didn't do transactional work, but it seems as though this is the sort of thing that, it's right there in the title of the panel, this is the sort of thing that an army of junior associates at one point was out there doing. Doing
it certainly would take them longer than the second, and also doing it without the predictability and accuracy of a computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every step along, I always kind of say when you build an army like that, you're introducing many, many points and vectors of human error.
Very much so, absolutely. And also lots of ways, lines of communication, lots of ways to siphon off time.
Yeah. So this tool, both of these tools, I should say, you're aiming largely towards, are you aiming mostly at smalls and solos, or are you starting to get some intrusion into the big law world too?
We're not picky.
You're okay. Fair enough. No, I guess what I'm trying to say then is I'm going more towards the kind of broader market view. It seems one of the themes that I've picked up since I've been going to these sorts of shows is that this is the best time to ever be a smaller solo, because the technology is finally reaching a point where you can get some of these clients that Big Law has hoarded for years. So is the adoption faster among the smaller ones or not?
Oh, it's absolutely fast.
Okay.
It's absolutely fast. Well, we have users in a number of big law firms.
Really?
As individuals.
Oh, okay.
So there are a lot of factors at work. There's your law firm's IT policy. How permissive are they with adding your own word add-in that you might have bought just on your own? We get much more traction, I think, with in-house counsel's offices.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Places where they don't have the luxury of the billable hour.
Uh-huh.
Efficiency becomes much more
essential, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about the in-house offices. Yeah. But I actually think it's really interesting that, from my perspective, I guess I followed the rules like a drone, and I just was like, well, whatever the big firm's going to let me do. But so there are firms that are starting to say, you have some flexibility as an individual to, go out and get the plugins that you find helpful.
It's uncommon, but it happens.
And that's one of the things, I think Gary might have mentioned something about this in his keynote, but he was talking about the disappearance of partner loyalty and stuff like that.
Okay.
Is that even within big law firms, the practice is becoming more atomized. And so if you have a tool like our tool that is focused on your work, the individual lawyer's work, your eyeballs looking at the contract that you're working on right now, I think this is the right time for it, not only because of kind of atomization of law firms and solo practices and stuff like that, but also because just within the law firms themselves, the practice is becoming more atomized. Not to mention, I think there was an article in the Wall Street Journal just a week or so ago about a law firm de-equitizing partners. So even then, there's still competition within the law firms themselves.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. When you're not, assuming you're not on a lockstep partner compensation,
right,
you're fighting for your own little fiefdom there. That's a good point. So great. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for presenting at our little conference here.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah. How are you liking Philadelphia? I know you're from New York like I am. So
I mean, it's we're gonna hopefully get out of the hotel at least for a few minutes today. But Philadelphia's great. Philadelphia's great.
Good call. Get some of the local delicacies around here. See the
Cream
Liberty
cheese.
Bell. Do all that. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. And you've been listening to us on the road on the Legal Talk Network. If you aren't subscribed to this, you should. That way you'll get every one of these every time they come out. You should give reviews and stuff like that so it goes up the algorithms in iTunes and more people can hear us. And you can download the Legal Talk Network app and then hear all the shows, especially Thinking Like a Lawyer, which is obviously the best one, but I guess I'm biased. And with all of that, thanks for listening, and we'll hit you up another time coming very soon on an episode of On the Road with the Legal Talk Network.
If you'd like more information about what you've heard today, please visit LegalTalkNetwork.com. Subscribe via iTunes and RSS. Find us on Twitter and Facebook, or download our free Legal Talk Network app in Google Play and iTunes. The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer.